Welcome to BusyButHealthy.com, your no-nonsense source for keeping healthy, fit, and fabulous with your host, Kristine Fretwell.
Hello again, and welcome to Season 2 of the Busy But Healthy Show. I'm really excited about today's recipe, and they are Orange Cranberry high-protein muffins. Some of you that are e-newsletter subscribers, have seen this recipe, but for all of those of you that haven't, you're going to really love this. And I also just wanted to show you how to use the Krista baking formulation in recipes as well, to substitute for sugar, of course. So I'm just going to go get started, but first I'm going to tell you just a little rundown of what's going to be in it today. So we've got some oat flour. I really like using oat flour. It makes a recipe gluten-free. And it tastes great. I find that using oat flour, you can't even tell in recipes whether it's blanched flour, whether it's whole wheat flour, whether it's spelt flour. That's why I really like using oat flour. And we're going to up the protein content with a few scoops of vanilla protein. This one's actually sweetened with stevia. And then we've got some baking powder, a teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, super easy. And then I'm going to be using some of the Krista baking formulation. And then on to our wet ingredients. So we've got some unsweetened applesauce, some egg whites, some almond milk, unsweetened as well, and some frozen cranberries. And we're also going to be using some orange zest and orange juice. Okay, so let's just get started. As you've seen from other videos, I like to dump everything in one bowl. The wonderful thing about cooking gluten-free is you don't have to worry about any gluten forming. So you could literally stir something to death and it's not going to get really sticky or anything on you. So that's great. So all the dry ingredients are going to go into this bowl here. So we've got 2 cups of oat flour, and then we've got 3 scoops, and these are 30-gram scoops of protein powder, just a vanilla flavor. You could also use unsweetened if you want. And then I've got a 1/3 of a cup of the Krista baking formulation. So another great hint about using stevia and using Krista is even though it measures cup for cup to sugar, you really don't need to use that much, I find. So usually 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup for me makes the recipe plenty sweet enough. So 1/3 a cup of the baking formulation. And then I'm just going to stir this up here. Stir some of these dry ingredients. And then I'm also just going to dump in my half a teaspoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. So in those go. Stir that around, and then simple as that. Now we're on to our wet ingredients. So I'm going to use 1 cup of, this is just unsweetened almond milk. The Almond Breeze is what I really like, so I'm going to use that today. But obviously you could use whatever milk you like. So in that goes. And then I'm using some egg whites as well. This is just the carton egg whites. So it's 5 carton egg whites, which is equivalent to half a cup plus 2 tablespoons. So half a cup, 2 tablespoons. And don't worry, all these recipes are all available on busybutthealthy.com/recipes, so you can get it all there, of course. And then this is just some unsweetened applesauce. And I just like to use these snack packs because they're already pretty much pre-measured. It's 1/3 of a cup. So I'm just going to use that. So in that goes the applesauce. And then I'm just going to stir this all around. And like I said, you don't really have to worry about it getting all gummy because we're not cooking with gluten. Of course, if you want to use whole wheat flour or whatever flour, you totally can. It's totally up to you. Okay, and the last couple things we got here is some orange zest. This is my little handy zester. You may have seen these on TV before. I know Rachel Ray's a big fan of these. So I'm just going to basically zest pretty much most of this orange. but you only want to get the outside orange part because underneath there is what they call the pith, and it's really bitter. So you just want to basically get the outside of the orange. Okay, I'm going to finish zesting this orange. I'll meet you back here in a second. Okay, hey guys, I'm back. So I just finished zesting my orange. So if you want to do a close-up here, you can see the little orange bits in the batter now. So I've got my orange zest in, and I also forgot to mention that I'm using also just a 1/4 cup of the orange juice from the orange that I just zested. So I'm going to pour that in as well. Let's do a little stir. And then the last thing here is the frozen cranberries. You probably could use fresh cranberries, but with the time of the year, it's obviously not available because it's past Christmas. So I just got the frozen ones, so I'm just going to use that. One cool thing about cranberries, it's kind of a mindless tip, but I noticed they float to the top of the batter. So that's kind of cool because sometimes when doing muffins, you notice the blueberries or whatever fall to the bottom, but the cranberries float to the top, just like how they are, you know, when they're harvesting them, they float to the top of the water. Kind of interesting, huh? Okay, so our batter is mixed, and if you do a little close-up, you'll notice that it is quite runny, and you want it that way specifically for this recipe if you're using the protein powder, because with protein powder, when it cooks, it really tends to dry out, so you have to use extra liquid, I find, in order to make the muffins still moist and not like a brick. I know a lot of people don't like cooking with protein because it's come out really icky, but that is the key when cooking with protein is you do need to add the extra liquid or else it will come out like a brick. Trust me, I've had lots of trials. So, okay, so now we've got our muffin tin that's just lightly sprayed or brushed with a little bit of oil, whatever you want. And I just like to use a ladle here to fill these up. So I'm just gonna ladle out, oh gosh, some here. Can't say it's gonna be pretty, but okay. So I've got my oven preheated to 350 degrees. So it's gonna go in for about 15 to 18 minutes. You just wanna make sure that on top you can poke it and it isn't batter, basically. It just needs to be cooked on top and then it's usually done. So I'll meet you back here when these are all done so you can see what they look like. Hey guys, so my orange cranberry high protein muffins are out of the oven, and oh my gosh, if you could smell it, it smells amazing. And see what I said about the cranberries going to the top? Kind of neat. I think they look very pretty myself. So in each one of these, you're looking at about just over 100 calories, 9 grams of protein, which is awesome, and just a couple grams of sugar, and that's in part to using the stevia baking blend. So I'll show you what they look like quickly here. As you can see, they've browned up nicely. Ooh, still really hot. And I just baked those at 350 degrees for about 18 minutes. So I hope you give these a try and enjoy them. And thanks for joining me on another episode of Busy But Healthy, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye for now.
For more tips, recipes, and information, please visit busybutthealthy.com.